Hi everyone, I'm Kay of Kay's Creative Home. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be starting with this pegboard I got from Dollar Tree. It is a rectangular shaped pegboard. It is 10 inches long, almost 10 inches long, by 5 inches wide and a half an inch deep. And I'm going to be using it as my base to make a swag. Now, I've never made one with this before, so I'm going to be learning as I go, and we'll see that happening because I'll be making some changes as I go along. But welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, we're so happy to have you. Let me get things situated here so the camera won't be looking too crazy. And like I said, we're going to be starting with this pegboard, brushing off the dirt. I don't know how things come in a package and still have so much dust on it. But anyway, I'm going to feed through some zip ties where I want to first try adding my mesh. And once I get them fed through, I'm going to show you a picture of exactly where they are because this is white on white and you cannot see where they're going. I will mention that in the corners, and I'll show that later, the zip ties go through this little round piece they have there on the back. And I'll show you how I try to squeeze them through that little round piece, through the little openings, or you can just take some pliers and bend those pieces and they pop right off, so they'll be out of your way. Here I am now trying to get my finger to push it through, and later on, I did it at first fighting with this thing, and then later on I was like, I'll just break this piece off, it's in my way. Okay, so let's move on here so I can get to where I show you where I'm adding the zip ties. So here it is in red so you can clearly see. This is where I am adding my zip ties. I used pipe cleaners here just for ease and so that bright color would be clear to see where I'm adding them, and this is going to be the first round for where I'm adding my deco mesh. Alright, so if you need to see that again, just pause the video so that you can kind of take note of where those are added. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting this mesh at 20 inches and I'm going to do 6 of them, and then we're going to show you how that I make little cruffles. And I got ahead of myself in prepping for the video, so I've already made all my cruffles. I usually leave at least one to do a demo, so I had to do another one here for you. So I start by excuse me, and forgive me for clearing my throat, but we're in allergy season here in Maryland. So I start by curling under the first side, making it tucking it under a few times. And what I do is curl it until that cut edge is completely on the bottom again. That's how I was showing you how it's pointing down. And then I gather it up down the center and add my little clip there to hold it in place until I'm ready to use it. And I'm showing you here how I'm going to be adding it to the zip ties by actually just folding it in half and slipping it up under the zip ties. Okay, so I've got one ready, and I fold it and try to make sure the ends are even, and then I gather with my finger there, trying to hold everything without it popping loose from my hands. And now I'm going to pull my little zip tie snugly and say, look at there, I'm finished. So I'm going to do that 5 more times, and again I clip raw edges as I go if they're sticking out, because I do not want the task of going back and looking for them later, because you know you're going to miss one. Alright, so I'm going to add it to one to each side, and then I'm going to add one to each corner. Now these, you saw how I kind of folded it in half so I can get it up in the zip ties. When I get to the corners, I want it to kind of spread out to cover the corners, so those zip ties are at an angle. So this time I'm going to let the zip tie come directly over the center with it open. So see how that's still open, and the zip tie is going to come right up the middle, just right where my fingers are there. Bring one up over and the other one from behind, and I'm putting that zip tie together there and pulling it snug, and that way the mesh can just kind of fall free and cover both sides of the base there. And this is where I was saying I had to get it in between those little grooves for this video. In the next video or in another video where I do this, I'm going to actually, like I said, just take some little pliers and pinch those pieces and they pop right off. So yeah, I got my little zip tie up in those little grooves. Okay, let me add on the rest of these, and I'm doing the same method again, keeping them open so that that zip tie can come straight up the center, and the other two corners I'm going to do exactly the same. All right, be right back. So I get all my mesh curls finished there, and then I realized I forgot to add my ribbon into each zip tie. And I started to undo it and do the video again, but then I thought, nope, sometimes your viewers need to know we make mistakes too. We forget things. And so this is how you correct that. I'm going to just make my little ribbon tails and add the a second zip tie back in those same holes, because this pegboard, the holes are big enough. So here I am. Around each one that's already existing, I'm going to add a second zip tie. I'm going to take my tails. These are cut at 12 inches, and then I did the dovetailing on the end. For those two side ones, same method. Gather it in the center and kind of fold it together there. Slide it up under that same, up under my new zip tie, and close my zip tie. Well, I'm going to close it first because I couldn't hold everything in my hand and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and get the other side one ready on the other side there. And get that closed, but don't pull it tight, just close, so it'll be easier to pull it tight once you get your ribbon in there. So I added my ribbon to this one side. I had already pulled it closed with my fingers, and now I can really tighten it up with my zip tie gun. And then I'm going to go to the other side, pre-close that one, and gather my ribbon here down the center, fold it over, so I got that nice little point, slide it up under that zip tie, and now I'm going to close it completely. Oh, I tried to do the gun there, but it was just too much pulling back and forth, so I'm going to pull it first with my little pliers there, and now I'm going to shape my ribbon tails how I want them to be, and then pull it tightly with my zip tie gun. All right, for the end, for the corners, same thing. I put in another layer of zip tie, made sure that zip tie caught it right in the center like before. So I'm doing another one here. So this time the zip tie again is coming right up the center, so that the ribbon folds out on both sides there, just like the mesh did. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for the others. All right, got all 4 done there. I got all 6 done total. Let's move on. Corrected that mistake. So this is where we were for the first round. And now I'm going to show you where we're going to be putting our zip ties for the second round. For the next round, I have put on yellow zip ties, and they're going to go over the edge of this board, just the way I have them here. Pause if you need to, so you can kind of capture where they need to go. And this is how they look on the top side. So I'm going to be adding 6 again, 2 on each side, 1 in the center on each end, and we're going to be adding in a new color. I should have color coordinated this a little better, because I could have did this in red, but sorry about that. So I have my I have a zip tie here, and this time again the zip tie is going to come up the center because I'm able to put it between 2 pegs No, I'm sorry. It's in one opening and going out the side. So the way it's going to catch it, it can go right up the center, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, what am I doing here? Had to think a minute. I'm like, why am I folding that? No, it can stay open this time because the zip tie is coming up the center. And I got the zip tie one from the top. I'm trying to find it on the bottom here and pull it right up the middle. And I am pulling it closed there, and I'm sorry you can't see. And that's why I let you see the zip ties on the board with nothing, no mesh or anything. So I've got it now holding my mesh and my ribbon tails, and I'm shaping them. And now I'm going to take my zip tie gun and pull it tightly until it cuts the end off. Now remember, when you're working with a zip tie gun, the first two pulls, you don't want to pull all the way back. Even if you do, I think it won't cut, but you don't want to pull all the way back. You kind of want to halfway do the trigger. And then when you're ready to cut it, then you pull all the way back. And that's when it will cut your zip tie. Okay, so I got to do 6 more of these, and each one is going off the end, so they're all kind of put in the same. Gather your ribbon down the middle. These are still 12-inch tails with dovetailing on the end. Put your tails on top of your mesh. Put them down where you want to, where your zip tie is. Bring one up, one end of the zip tie from one side, the other end of the zip tie from the other side, and work your way in the middle of all this mesh and close that zip tie up there. And I'm trying to do a close-up here again. I hope I'm doing that, but it seemed like for some reason when I was doing the close-ups on this video, they got real blurry. I don't know what that was about. So hopefully I'm able to do a close-up here and you'll be able to see more of what I'm doing. If not, I apologize. The one drawback to working with these boards, and even with some other boards that have the rectangular shape here, is that the holes get very close and it's kind of hard to see what you're doing even as you're working. And you have to kind of just fight through it and feel your way through it to get the task done. So I'm going to finish the other 2 here on the other side and then do the 2 on the end, and I'll be right back. Yeah, here, I'm sorry, before I leave here, you can see I'm really pulling that mesh back so you kind of see where the zip tie is, and that's where I'm going to be adding the next mesh and ribbon tails. I cut my ribbon tails ahead of time just to save some time in the video. Again, they are 12 inches gathered down the center, and your mesh is 10 inches gathered down the center, so your tails end up being a little wider. Now when I gathered my mesh for this swag, I have the curl side up. While I'm doing this, I want to thank everyone for the views I've been getting on my videos lately. I really appreciate that. If you're enjoying the videos, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with others. This is one way the YouTube algorithm acknowledges the fact that you enjoy the videos and that you want to see more of them. And if you're not a family member, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll be notified when new videos are released. That's another way YouTube acknowledges the fact that you're enjoying the videos and shares it with others. This is helping my channel grow. For a while there, I was thinking maybe I shouldn't be doing this because I wasn't getting too many views, but I worked with someone. They made some suggestions for some changes, and now I'm getting more views, and I appreciate it because just from the views alone, I'm a part of the YouTube family, and I'm getting enough ad revenue now to cover the cost of my wreaths. that's just like my first step. I really needed that done. I needed to cover the cost of the materials I'm pulling together. It doesn't cover my time, just the materials that I get to make these videos, and that's a blessing, so that I'm not at least working at a loss. So that way, if I can actually sell the wreaths, then I can actually see some profit. So like I said, thank you all for all you're doing to help me. Your questions, your comments, they're helping me to grow. It helps me to even make a better video. So someone pointed out in my previous video that I didn't show how I attached the bow, and so I'm going to do a short. I may have already done it by the time this is released, but maybe not. But I'm going to do a short showing how I attached the bow in that case, because I simply forgot, because I broke it down to 2 videos, and so now I can go back and do that, make that correction, and it makes me a better teacher. Next time I won't forget. In this video I won't forget. So that's helping me while I'm helping you. All right. Again, thank you everyone for all you've been doing to help this channel to grow. Okay. Let me add in these last 2 gathered mesh and tails on the ends, and I'll be right back. Alright, for this 3rd stage, I am going to be adding my zip ties straight down the middle where you see green. Those are the holes I'll be using. So I'm going to add my zip ties as I go, and then I'm going to be adding in another color mesh and some ribbon tails. This time I'm going to be working with this buffalo print black and red, and my white ribbon with the ladybugs on there. I saved them till last so that they'll be prominent on the top. In the end, I wish I had kind of done it before I got to the top, because the top is going to be covered by a bow, but you'll still see them a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to add the zip tie, going from one hole to the other where I showed you. And this time, because of how they're going straight down the line here in the center, then I'm going to be adding my mesh from the center gathers, and the mesh and the ribbon will extend out to both sides. That's how this one is going to get added. Excuse me. So you're going to see me lay it in right in the center there. It's extended to both sides. It's going to fill up this area completely. You won't see any of the base by the time we finish adding in this. And here I'm just pulling my zip tie together, and I'm sorry again you can't see that. I gotta figure out a way to do that so that I have some close-ups, because again, I don't know what happened. Usually when I do my close-ups they're fine, but in this one the camera is just slightly out of focus, and I apologize for that, and I'll figure that out and hopefully do a better job next time. So got that in, pulled it tightly, and now I'm going to have to do the rest of them facing me. Again, I add my zip tie where I want it to go for the next one, pull it up, gather my 2 ribbons here. These again are still cut at 12 inches and dovetailed on the ends. I'm going to add my mesh, and the mesh is the same cruffled design where I curl one end, curl the other end, and gather it in the center, same as the last layer that we added to this swag. So I've got it in, I'm pulling it tight, and then I'm going to shape everything out, because as you go along you kind of push things out of place. So I'm going to get everything shaped up, and I'll be ready to add the next one. Alright, let's get the last 2 added in here, after I shape everything to death. I don't know why I do so much shaping, because I know the next time I put another one in, it's going to push it back out of place. I'm going to just have to shape again. So anyway, let's get the last two added in. I'll be right back. So I've got all my 4 pieces added in the center, and this is what we're looking like thus far. I think it's coming out really nice. It can be a swag, or it could be a centerpiece, because it's got a nice flat bottom. All right, so now I'm going to add our bow to the center. And well, first I'm going to add a hook to the back using a zip tie. I put it through and start to close it, and then cut the ends off so you can't continue to close it. And then that's how I make my little hangers on the back for hanging the wreath, or if they want to use it as a centerpiece, they wouldn't just use the hook. The loop on the back. All right, now I got to decide what size bow I want in the center, and I want it to be a pretty big bow. I want it to go that full length there. And so I've got to decide how I'm going to do that. And I want some tails and loops to go the length, but I don't want a huge amount to go the width. So what I'm going to do first is cut 2 12-inch pieces of, I started with one of my darker ribbons. Excuse me, I was drinking water. So I dovetail the ends. I've cut 2 pieces there. You saw me do that. I'm going to gather it in the center, and then I'm going to just add these tails first to the bottom of my bow maker. And of course, again, I forgot to add my zip tie. That's an 8-inch zip tie. Excuse me. And my pipe cleaner. So I'm going to put this in here to hold it, and then I'm going to gather 2 of my red pipe cleaners and attach them together. I usually just twist it at the top a couple times. Then I open that up and twist it around each side. So one end goes around one pipe cleaner, one goes around the other pipe cleaner. I tend to mash them with this little pliers I have, my jewelry pliers, because I do make jewelry. That tool has become a wreath tool. I have to get another one for making jewelry. So anyway, I press it down to make sure the wire ends aren't sticking out. Because when you go to add that thing to your wreath, those wires will get you. So I got the zip tie down. I got my pipe cleaners down so I can attach it to my wreath. And now I am going to do the next layer. It's going to still be 2 12-inch tails. I want to get some nice color, and I keep looking down at my wreath to try to decide how long I want these pieces to be, where I want them to go. So since I've added a very dark ribbon there on the bottom with the buffalo print, I wanted to brighten it up, add something brighter right away. I like, because this isn't supposed to be a super dark wreath. This is a ladybug wreath. So I want, and it's a spring or summer wreath, so we don't want it to get too dark. So I'm going to brighten it up with this white. Even though it's got the black in it, that white will bring a lot of brightness back into the picture. All right, so cut my 12 inches, cut 2 of them. I'm going to do the same as I did with the buffalo print. Give it a dovetail on the end and open it up. Gather at the center. Cross them first. It helps you to keep them spread apart. And then gather it at the center. All right, I could have really added these in separately, one at a time, but they're in there now. So let's just separate them out. There we go. And then we'll be ready for the next layer. So now I'm going to use the red and white dots. And again, 12-inch tails are going to be going in. I'm sorry, I messed up. You can clearly see that black and white is not at 12-inch. I did it a little shorter. So I probably did 10 inches there. All right, let's see what I did to red and white. Because, child, I did this a minute ago. Back, same thing, then it's probably at the 10-inch point. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, I'll try to add some layering in there so you could see each ribbon. So I made the, as we went up, it got a little shorter. The red and white dot did not have to get shorter because it's narrower. Say that 3 times fast. It's thinner than the other ribbon, so it won't block as much underneath. Okay, now for this next one, I'm going to start making the bow. So I'm starting with a 6-inch tail that I am extending to the side. Is that 6-inch? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, that tail might be a 5-inch because I don't need it to go too far over to the side. And then I'm starting with my 6-inch loops on both sides. And trying to decide now, do I want a long tail or short tail? And I think I cut it off again at 6 inches, and I'm going to extend it to the other side in a second there. Yeah. And this way I'll get some ribbons flowing out on each side of the wreath. Okay. So, next thing we want to do is add in some more brightness. So I'm going to make it the same as the one I just put down. Like a 5 to 6 inch tail extended off to the side because I already have it going the length. Give myself a 6-inch loop. Gather it and put it in the bow maker. Give it a twist so the wrong side is facing up. Make my next loop. I'm going to do another 6 inches. Gather in the center. Add it to the bow maker. And then decide on how long I want that tail to be. And I'm going right at 6 inches again. Okay. You all have this issue with Sam's ribbon where sometimes you lose one top of it and can't find that little center plug that holds it on? Oh, I hate that. I don't know where those things roll to, but I guess they're up under some of my shelving. I never seem to find them when it falls apart. So anywho, things that make you go, Alright, so we are kind of shaping this out, trying to make sure I'm getting the look I wanted and not too many things are side by side. I won't want the same ribbon side by side. So, give you a peek at how it's looking so far. And I'm alternating there as much as possible. Alright, now here's a question of what you want and what you got. I would love to have made some loops with this, but I don't have that much left. So I'm still going to add in the color by doing my, I believe I did 12 inches there. I'll know when I get it on the bow maker, see if it's the same length. Just to be able to add some of the, each ribbon back into the bow. That doesn't look like 12 inches. Let's get it on here and see what I did. And I apologize. I finished this video up a couple days ago and I'm just doing the voiceover. So, yeah, that's a little, is that 6 inches? That's a little shorter than the black and white one, so it's probably 5 inches. Okay. And I'm just adding it in lengthwise and crosswise so you get a pop of that red and white stripe. Okay, so next we're going to do the red and white dots. I started with a 6-inch tail, but I think when I did the loops I went to 5. Let's see what I did here this time. Yeah, it looks like I came in a little shorter and went to 5 inches. Some people do a ½ inch at a time. I tend to do a whole inch. I don't know, just what I do. No rhyme or reason. Maybe because I'm not doing so many layers. When you do a whole lot of layers, a ½ an inch at a time is probably better, because otherwise the bow is going to get too small too fast. So here I'm trying to decide if I want to do another loop, and I think I decide no, because I don't want too much of the same ribbon. And I'm cutting my tail at 6 inches. That clamp I'm putting back on the bow maker at the center there, I don't know if you can see that red clamp. I do that to hold the ribbon in place, because sometimes it'll start sliding up. And I want it to stay tight. I don't want to be having pieces coming up and going every which kind of direction. Alright, so I'm going to dovetail this little piece. I think that's a 10-inch piece, because I'm going to go side to side. So I have some red and white extending out of the sides too. I was going to say earlier, for my dovetails, I tend to come down 3/4 of an inch to an inch, and then cut up toward the end, that open end. When you fold it in half, one side is folded, one side is open. From the folded end, I come down about 3/4 of an inch and then go up to the end of the open side. Okay, so I'm going to my last layer. I've got I believe that's a 10-inch piece. It might be 4. Let's see what I did here. Yeah, that looks kind of short. Yep, looks like I did a 4-inch just to go side by side. Wanted it a little shorter so it's layered up again. You can see it on top and see what's underneath. And now I'm going to do my bow piece. This time it looks like I started at 5 inches, so everything is getting shorter as your bow gets taller, and that helps you to see what's underneath. And yeah, it looks like that red and white polka dot I did at 5 inches too. Next time I'm gonna write this down. Sorry about this, y'all. Something I learned today. So now I'm going to do 5 inches. I've gathered it, put it in the center, and turned it, gave it a twist so that the back side is facing up. And now I can do 5 inches again and gather it. Place that in the bow maker. Come on, girl. Don't take that long to gather nothing. Come on. All right, got that in the bow maker. And now we're going to hold everything in place because this bow is getting tall. And I'm going to cut the end at 5 inches. And I'm going to dovetail that. And the reason I did that again at 5 inches is because I got a lot of ribbon underneath that I want to show, and I don't want to cover it up with the top ribbon. But now I got to take it off. So I'm actually going to mess it up a little bit, and then I got to shape it some more. But let's get this zip tie around here. And probably should have got a longer zip tie, but that's okay. I'm going to make it. I'm going to close it and pull it snug. And my fingers just slide right off of these zip ties. So I grabbed my little pliers there. Now when you get it off, you got this tall column. You want to hold it on both sides. So I got my fingers coming up both sides there. And I'm going to swing that zip tie around. And while I'm swinging it, I moved it right to the center where the bow maker was holding it, where you had that nice indentation. And now I'm going to pull it a little bit tighter. See how that ribbon pops as you're pulling it? Did you notice that? It was spreading out. Tighter center makes the edges pop out. That's what helps you get a really cute bow. Alright, so I got it snug, but still not totally tight. And this is where I do my last shaping again. First, I flipped it over to actually get these back pieces right where I wanted them. It's easier to see what I'm doing. Okay, even got my little pipe cleaners, shaping them, putting them back in the center where I want them. Okay, had to move the center around a little bit, and I thought I had pinched it so that metal wasn't sticking out at the end, but it got me a couple times, so I had to kind of pinch that back in too. All right, I'm going to stand up so I can see what I'm doing because I'm looking down on this bow and I want everything to be where I want it to be. So now I'm back to shaping. I'm making sure all my pieces I want on the side are on the sides. And now I'm trying to decide which goes where. And just take your time. If something's in the wrong place, it doesn't matter. You got so many different colors, so many different designs, so much beautiful ribbon here. And it looks good no matter where it ends up. Just fill it out so that your bow is nice and full. So you pull some to the side, you pull some to the top. And for each of the loops, you kind of open them up with your fingers so they're not mashed down. Getting everything as close to where you want it as possible. Your hands are kind of in the way. That's why one of those, they call them a bow fluffer, I think. They come in handy. I don't have one, haven't used one, but I love the effect they can get when they're working with one. So that may be something I add into my future. Look, now that I got the channel kind of paying for my supplies, yeah. We can get to the place where if I sell some wreaths, I can make some money to start buying some more equipment. That would be nice. Okay, now that I've pulled it completely tight with that zip tie gun, I'm still kind of jerking on some pieces to shape it out. You see how, oh, I just love a bow when you pull it real tight and it all pops out at the top. Things that make a crafter happy. A fluffy bow. So I got it popping out really nicely here, and of course, like I said, I'm going to do some more shaping, and then we're going to add it to the wreath. Again, if you enjoy the videos, please give me a thumbs up and share with others. And if you're not a family member, consider hitting that button and ringing the bell and subscribing and becoming a part of the family, and you can get notified when I release new videos. So I've laid it out here on top. I want it to kind of sink into the wreath a little bit. So now what I've done is flip the bow over so that I can take those bottom pipe cleaners, and feed them through the holes where I want them to go in this base here. This base was easy to do this because the holes are large enough that you can actually see the light shining right through. So it's easy to find those holes in between the mesh. So just take your time, look through there. So I've got them through. Now I'm gonna, instead of just pulling it into my wreath, I'm gonna stop a minute and situate my bow so that it's going down into the center, and I'm trying to make sure all that ribbon underneath is going out. I don't want it to get mashed into the wreath. So I took my hands and kind of worked my way underneath to make sure everything was still sitting out, and it didn't get tied underneath. Now when I was pulling this, for some reason, it, like, see how I'm trying to fluff it one side? It's like it went down on one side lower than on the other. I don't know why. So I kept fluffing it up on that side and trying to adjust it. On the back now, I've got it where I kind of want it, so I'm just giving it a twist. And you can't really see that, but you'll see it later. Just giving it a nice snug twist, and then I'll show you what to do with the rest of it in just a second. All right, I took those little clamps off. I'm going to turn it upside down gently. Don't want to mash. Now, I've got this twisted on the back where I want it. I'm going to snip it and try to feed the ends back through the holes. This one went in perfectly. This one would not go in. So I snipped it again and tried the next hole. Made it a little shorter. Let's try the next hole. Short enough. And it went right in. So then I took this one because I like things to be balanced. I snipped that too and put that in the next hole and prayed that they both went in the same holes. Okay. All right. So there it is. The two center openings is where I attached the bow, and the two outside of that is where I tuck those ends back in. I'm going to use a little bit of glue later to secure them so that they don't come flopping back out. All right, so here we go again. Time to fluff the bow. Time to shape the bow. I should make a bow song, shall we? Time to fluff the bow. Time to shape the bow. Yeah, I won't be getting any recording contracts. I know. So we're gonna fluff. This is what makes your end product come together. A lot of times people say, I can't get mine to look like theirs or whatever. And sometimes it's just a matter of fluffing at the end, making sure everything is kind of pulled into a place where it can be seen. It's not hidden underneath of something else. And then also opening up the loops on the bows, giving those tails a nice little curl under. See how I'm doing that right there with my fingers? Curling them under. I'll put it between, you'll see me sometimes take it and put it between two fingers. Right there, I'm doing it. Right there. Yeah. two fingers and just give it a little curl. All of that shaping makes a huge difference to your final product. And yeah, I found one I didn't dovetail. Shame on me. As I was doing this too though, I found a few that I wanted a little bit shorter. So I was clipping those too as I went. And we're getting close to a final product. Got this thing together here. All right, so this is how we're looking. I hope you'll stay tuned to see some more pictures of this wreath on a examples of it on a door. And I may even be able to, I don't know if I have a table where I can put this where it would look nice because of just different color designs I have in my home. But at any rate, I thank you for spending this time with me, and I'll be talking with you again real soon.